The trading post on Kepsilon 7 was busy that morning. Taewon walked through the market with his cargo of medical supplies. He had been a soldier once, but those days were behind him now. He just wanted to sell his goods and move to the next planet. Simple, quiet, safe. But nothing stays simple for long in the galaxy. 3 Vraxian enforcers cornered him in an alley behind the market. They were big creatures covered in thick scales with sharp claws and sharper teeth. The Vraxians ran most of the crime in this sector. Everyone knew it. Everyone paid them. Everyone stayed quiet. The lead enforcer clicked his mandibles together. It was their way of laughing. Human merchant. You sell in our territory. You pay us now. Taewon kept his hands visible. I already paid the station fees. Legal fees. Those are station fees. These are protection fees. You want protection, yes? Taewon knew what came next. He had seen it before on other stations. You paid or they hurt you. You complained and they hurt you worse. The station authorities never helped. The Vraxian Empire was powerful. Humans were new. Nobody wanted trouble. How much? Taewon asked. All of it. Your cargo. Your ship, everything. Taewon shook his head slowly. No. The enforcer reached for something on his belt. Later, the security footage would show it was just a communication device. But in that dark alley with 3 predators surrounding him, Taewon saw a weapon. His military training took over. His body moved before his mind could catch up. 2 minutes. That was all it took. 2 minutes of violence that would change everything. When it was over, 1 Vraxian enforcer was dead. 1 was bleeding on the ground, barely alive. The 3rd one ran away, screaming into his communicator. Taewon stood there, breathing hard, looking at what he had done. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from the old familiar feeling of combat. He had forgotten how it felt, how easy it was to fall back into it. He ran, not because he was guilty. The security footage would prove he acted in self-defense. But he knew the Vraxians would not care about evidence. They would want blood. Ambassador Hyojin heard about the incident 3 hours later. She was the human representative to the Galactic Council. She had been working for years to build good relationships with other species, to show that humans could be trusted, to prove they belonged in galactic society. And now this. 1 human merchant. 1 dead Vraxian. All her work was falling apart. She watched the security footage 20 times. It was clear. Self-defense. The Vraxians had cornered him, had threatened him. Taewon had reacted when he thought his life was in danger. Any human court would clear him in minutes. But the Galactic Council was not a human court. The Vraxian Empire demanded justice. They wanted Taewon arrested, sent to their home world, put on trial in their courts. Everyone knew what that meant. Vraxian justice was fast and brutal. He would be found guilty. He would be executed. It did not matter what the evidence showed. Hyojin stood before the Galactic Council and argued for 2 days. She showed them the footage. She explained human law. She talked about self-defense, about proportional response, about basic rights. She used every legal argument she had learned in 30 years of diplomatic service. The council listened politely. Then they voted. The Vraxian Empire had been part of the council for thousands of years. They had allies, trading partners, and mutual defense treaties. Humans had been members for less than a century. They were still outsiders, still proving themselves. The vote was not even close. Taewon would be surrendered to the Vraxian Empire within 48 hours. If humanity refused, the council would authorize the Vraxians to retrieve him by force. If humanity interfered, there would be sanctions. Maybe worse. Hyojin sat alone in her office after the vote. She had failed. Failed Taewon. Failed her duty. Failed everything she believed about justice and fairness. Her communication console beeped. Incoming message encrypted from Kepsilon 7. It was Taewon. Ambassador, I heard about the vote. Thank you for trying. I know you did your best. She started to reply, to apologize, to explain. But he kept talking. I want you to know something. I am not running anymore. I am not hiding. And I am definitely not surrendering. If they want me, they can come get me. Tell them I will be waiting. Tell them to send their best. The message ended. Hyojin stared at the blank screen. She wanted to be angry at him. Wanted to tell him he was being stupid. That one man could not fight an empire. That this was not some heroic last stand. This was just death, but she remembered her history. Remembered stories of Thermopylae and the Alamo and Rourke's Drift. Humans had always had this strange habit of standing their ground even when it made no sense. Even when they knew they would lose. Maybe that was what made them human. The Vraxian Empire responded quickly. They sent a retrieval squad called the Crimson Talons, 20 elite soldiers, the best the Empire had. They wore advanced armor, carried weapons that could punch through steel, had training that took decades to complete. The commander of the Crimson Talons was a veteran named Krex. He had fought in 15 campaigns, had retrieved hundreds of fugitives. This was routine work. Boring even. One human. What could one human do? They landed on Kepsilon 7 with full authorization from the station authorities. Nobody tried to stop them. Nobody warned Taiwan. The station officials just wanted this over with. Wanted the problem gone. The Crimson Talons tracked Taiwan to an old mining facility outside the main settlement. The place had been abandoned for years. Just empty buildings and rusty equipment. Perfect place for a fugitive to hide. Krex deployed his team in standard formation, covered all exits, set up sensor nets, called in overhead surveillance. Everything by the book. Professional. Efficient. They moved in at dawn. 14 hours later, the distress beacon activated automatically. The message was simple. Emergency. Casualties. Request immediate backup. The rescue team arrived 6 hours after that. They found the mining facility turned into a nightmare. Bodies everywhere. Weapons scattered across the ground. Armor pierced and broken. Blood on every surface. 19 Crimson Talons were dead. Krex and his entire elite team gone. Killed by one human using their own weapons against them. Traps, ambushes, close combat. Every method of warfare that humans had perfected over thousands of years of killing each other. They found one survivor. A young soldier who had been knocked unconscious early in the fight. He woke up surrounded by his dead squad members. His mind broke. He kept saying the same thing over and over. Just one human. How did one human do this? The rescue team searched the facility. Taiwan was gone, but he left something behind. A message written on the wall in Vraxian blood. 2 words in the common galactic language. Send more. When the news reached the Galactic Council, there was silence. Then chaos. The Vraxian ambassador demanded a full military response. Other species called for caution. Some wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Ambassador Hyojin sat in her office and read the reports. Part of her was horrified at the violence, at the death, at what this meant for human-Vraxian relations. But another part of her, a part she did not want to admit existed, felt something else. Pride. One human had just reminded the galaxy of something they had forgotten, something they should have learned before humans joined the Council, something every bully throughout human history had eventually learned the hard way. You could push humans. You could threaten them. You could even kill them, but you could never make them back down. Captain Min-seok was 3 days into a routine patrol when the emergency message came through. It was marked urgent, eyes only, from Ambassador Hyojin herself. He opened it in his private quarters. Read it twice, then read it again. The Vraxian Empire was mobilizing their 4th fleet, 200 warships. Target Kepsilon 7. Objective: retrieve or eliminate one human, by any means necessary. The message was clear. They were going to destroy the entire planet if they had to. Min-seok knew Taiwan. They had served together during the border wars, back when humanity was still new to space, still proving they could fight, still earning their place in the galaxy. Taiwan had been his sergeant, had saved his life on more than one occasion. Min-seok still remembered the Battle of New Seoul. His dropship had been hit. Crashed hard. Half the squad was dead. He was trapped under burning metal. Could feel his suit melting, could smell his own flesh cooking. Then Taiwan was there, lifting the debris with his bare hands, pulling him free, carrying him 3 kilometers through enemy territory, while Min-seok drifted in and out of consciousness, never stopping, never leaving him behind. The military had taught Min-seok many things: tactics, strategy, how to command, how to kill. But the most important lesson came from men like Taiwan. No one left behind. Min-seok looked at his tactical display. His ship, the EDFS Indomitable, was on the wrong side of the sector, far from Kepsilon 7, far from where he was needed. He thought about the political situation, about Earth's position in the Galactic Council. About the fact that starting a war over one man was insane, suicidal, would probably get him court-martialed. He thought about all of that for exactly 30 seconds. Then he gave the order. Change course. Maximum speed. Destination Kepsilon 7. His first officer looked at him. Sir, we do not have authorization for this. I know. Fleet Command will probably arrest us when we get back. Probably. And we are just one ship against 200 Vraxian warships. Minseok smiled. Then we better find some help. He opened an encrypted channel, one that reached every human military vessel, every colonial defense force, every veteran network, every soldier who had ever served with Taiwan or heard his name. The message was simple. Taiwan is on Kepsilon 7. The Vraxians are coming for him with their 4th fleet. 200 ships. They plan to glass the planet. I am heading there now. Who is with me? The response was immediate. Messages flooded in from across human space. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Patrol ships changed course without orders. Colony defense boats launched without clearance. Old cargo haulers suddenly found weapon systems they were not supposed to have. Even civilian vessels started heading toward Kepsilon 7. One message came from Commander Yuna. She had been a private when Taiwan trained her, fresh out of basic training, scared and unsure. Now she commanded a destroyer on the frontier. Taiwan saved my life on Arcturus Station. Time to return the favor. My ship is already moving. See you there, Captain. On Kepsilon 7, the colonial governor received an urgent message from the station authorities. The Vraxian 4th Fleet was coming. They had orders to destroy the planet if necessary. Begin evacuation immediately. Governor Sung Ho called an emergency meeting, showed them the orders, explained the situation. One human was going to die or they all were. The vote should have been easy. One life versus millions. Simple math. But then a young woman stood up. Her name was Bora. She worked at the medical clinic. She had bought supplies from Taiwan just last week. Had talked to him about her daughter. About medicine. About life on the frontier. We are not giving him up. We are not running. And we are definitely not letting the Vraxians tell us what to do on our own planet. Someone else stood. Then another. Then the whole room was standing. The vote was unanimous. They would fight. The colonial militia started preparing defensive positions. Citizens who had never held a weapon before got basic training. Factories that made farming equipment started making ammunition. The entire planet turned itself into a fortress. On Earth, Admiral Jiwoo watched her tactical display with growing alarm. Ships were leaving their posts all across the sector. Captains were ignoring orders. The entire military chain of command was falling apart. Her aide, Lieutenant Dae Hyun, stood nervously beside her desk. Admiral, the Galactic Council is demanding we stop this. They say we must surrender Taiwan immediately. They are threatening sanctions. Maybe worse. Jiwoo had been in the military for 40 years. Had fought in every major conflict humanity had faced since leaving Earth. She understood chain of command. Understood discipline. Understood the importance of following orders. She also understood what it meant to be human. How many ships have gone rogue? 57, Admiral. Patrol boats, destroyers, a few cruisers, all heading for Kepsilon 7, against 200 Vraxian warships. Yes, Admiral. Jiwoo stood and walked to the window. She could see Earth below, humanity's home, the planet that had sent its children to the stars, the species that refused to abandon its own. She had a choice. She could follow the Council's orders, arrest her own captains, hand over Taiwan, preserve Earth's position in galactic society, or she could do what every human military leader had done throughout history when faced with an impossible choice. She could stand with her people. Lieutenant, prepare the 3rd and 7th Fleets for immediate deployment. Full combat load. Destination Kepsilon 7. Daehyun's eyes widened. Admiral, that is 400 ships. That is half our fleet. If we commit that many forces without authorization, it will be considered an act of war. I know. The Council will expel us. The Vraxians will declare war. Other species might join them. We could be facing the entire galaxy. Jiwoo turned from the window and looked at her aide. She saw fear in his eyes, but also hope. Also pride. Lieutenant, do you know what humans did before we had spaceships? Before we had advanced technology? Before we joined the Galactic Council? No, Admiral. We fought. We fought against nature, against predators, against each other. We fought impossible odds. We made last stands that should have failed. We died defending things that rational beings would have abandoned. And somehow, against all logic, we survived. Do you know why? Dae-hyun shook his head. Because we never abandoned our own. Because we would rather die together than live as cowards. Because being human means something more than just survival. It means standing up when you should sit down, fighting when you should surrender, and protecting your own even when it makes no sense. She walked back to her desk and activated the fleet-wide communication system. This is Admiral Jiwoo to all Earth Defense Fleet vessels. You all know what is happening at Kepsilon 7. You all know that the Galactic Council has ordered us to stand down. You all know that following those orders means abandoning one of our own to certain death. She paused, letting her words sink in across hundreds of ships. I'm not following those orders. I am deploying the 3rd and 7th Fleets to Kepsilon 7. Any captain who wishes to join me, set course immediately. Any captain who chooses to stay behind you will face no punishment. This is my decision. My responsibility. My choice. Another pause. The Vraxians think they can threaten us. Think they can take one of ours and we will just accept it. They are about to learn what every enemy of humanity has eventually learned. You can kill us. You can beat us. You can destroy our ships and burn our worlds. But you cannot make us abandon our own. Not now, not ever. The response was immediate. Every ship in the 3rd and 7th Fleets changed course for Kepsilon 7. Not a single captain stayed behind. Lieutenant Dae-hyun watched the tactical display fill with moving icons. 400 human warships, all heading toward what would probably be the biggest battle humanity had fought since joining the Galactic Council. Admiral, what do we tell the Council? Jiwoo smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Tell them we are coming. Tell them we are not backing down. And tell them that if they want Taewon, they are going to have to go through all of us. Taewon sat in the ruins of the mining facility and listened to the calm chatter. Everyone was talking about him. About the battle that was coming. About the fleets that were moving. He heard Captain Minseok's message calling for help. Heard the responses flooding in from across human space. Heard Governor Sung-ho declaring that Kepsilon 7 would not surrender. Heard Admiral Jiwoo mobilizing half the Earth Defense Fleet. All of this. For him, for one man who just wanted to sell medical supplies and live quietly, he wanted to scream at them, wanted to tell them this was insane, that he was not worth a war, that they should just hand him over and save themselves. He opened his comm and sent a message directly to Minseok. Captain, stand down. This is not worth it. Hand me over. Save your crew. Save the planet. The response came 3 minutes later. Minseok's voice was calm, certain. Negative, Sergeant. You taught me something during the border wars. You remember what you said when I wanted to leave Henderson behind after he got hit? Taewon remembered. Private Henderson had taken shrapnel to both legs. Could not walk. Could not run. The enemy was closing in. Every tactical analysis said to leave him. Said that one wounded soldier was not worth the whole squad. Taewon had looked at young Lieutenant Minseok and said something simple. We do not leave people behind. Not ever, not for any reason. Minseok's voice continued. So no, Sergeant. I am not standing down. I am not leaving you behind. See you soon. The comm went silent. Then another voice came through. Commander Yuna, Sarge, you remember Arcturus Station? When that reactor was going critical, and I was trapped in the maintenance shaft, you could have evacuated, should have evacuated, but you stayed. You pulled me out with 30 seconds to spare, Taewon remembered. He had burns across half his body from that rescue. Spent 3 months recovering. Almost died twice. Time to return the favor, Sarge. My ship will be there in 6 hours. Then more voices. People he had served with, trained, fought beside. People whose lives he had saved. People who had saved his life. They were all coming. Taewon felt something break inside him. Not despair, not fear. Something else. Something he had not felt in years. Hope. He stood up, checked his weapons, and looked at the tactical display. The Vraxian 4th Fleet was approaching. 200 warships. The biggest force ever sent to retrieve one person. If his people were going to fight for him, then he would damn well fight with them. He opened a new comm channel. This one reached every human on Kepsilon 7. This is Taewon. I know you all voted to fight. I know you are preparing your defenses. I am coming to help. I have some experience with this sort of thing, Governor Sung-ho responded immediately. Glad to have you, Tae-won. We could use someone who knows how to fight. Report to the Militia Command Center. We are setting up defensive positions. Tae-won made his way through the settlement. People stopped and stared. They knew who he was, knew what was coming because of him. But nobody looked angry. Nobody blamed him. Instead, they nodded, waved. One old woman grabbed his hand and squeezed it. Give them hell, son. The Militia Command Center was chaos. Civilians with hunting rifles, farmers with improvised weapons, a few ex-military like himself. They were brave, but they were not soldiers. Not yet. Tae-won looked at the tactical map, saw the defensive positions, saw the plans. They were not bad, but they were not good enough. He started giving orders, repositioning defenders, setting up kill zones, creating fallback positions. The militia commanders looked at him with questions in their eyes. Do what he says, Governor Sung-ho ordered. This man knows war better than any of us. In orbit above Kepsilon 7, the human fleet was gathering. 57 ships. It was not much against 200 Vraxian warships, but it was something. Captain Minseok stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the mismatched collection of vessels around him. Patrol boats designed for customs work. Colony defense ships meant to chase pirates. Old cargo haulers retrofitted with weapons. A few proper warships like his own. It was the strangest fleet ever assembled, but every single captain had volunteered, had abandoned their posts, had risked court-martial. All for one man, his tactical officer called out. Captain sensors are picking up hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts. Very large. Minseok took a deep breath. The Vraxian 4th Fleet, here we go. Space tore open. Ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace. Massive destroyers. Heavy cruisers. Battleships that dwarfed anything in the human fleet. They kept coming. 200 warships in perfect formation. The flagship was a monster. The Absolute Dominion, 5 kilometers long, armed with enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Admiral Vrex commanded from its bridge. Vrex looked at the tactical display and almost laughed. 57 human ships, most of them barely qualified as warships. Against his fleet? This would not even be a fight. This would be an execution. He opened a communication channel. Human vessels. You are in violation of Galactic Council sanctions. You are harboring a wanted criminal. Stand down immediately and surrender Tae-won. You have one chance. Comply or be destroyed. Minseok looked at his crew, saw fear, saw doubt, saw determination. He opened his own channel. Vraxian fleet. The man you want is under our protection. He is a human citizen. He acted in self-defense. We will not surrender him. If you want him, you will have to go through us. Silence. Then Vrex's voice came back, filled with disbelief. You are 57 ships. We are 200. You cannot win. This is suicide, Minseok smiled. Maybe, but we are human. We do not abandon our own. Not for you. Not for anyone. So here is our answer. Come and take him. Vrex stared at his display. These humans were insane. Did they not understand basic math? Did they not care about survival? He gave the order he knew was inevitable. Open fire. Destroy them all. The Vraxian 4th Fleet unleashed hell. 200 warships firing at once. The amount of energy released in those first seconds could have vaporized a continent. Human ships exploded. Shields collapsed. Hulls tore apart. Dozens of vessels took catastrophic damage in the first 30 seconds. The Indomitable shuddered. Alarms screamed. Minseok tasted blood. His first officer shouted damage reports. Shields at 20%. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We cannot take another hit like that. Minseok wiped blood from his mouth. Then do not get hit. All ships attack pattern Delta, close range. Make them work for every kill. The human fleet charged. Not retreating. Not running. Accelerating directly toward the Vraxian fleet. Vrex watched in disbelief as damaged human ships continued to attack. As vessels with failing systems rammed his destroyers. As crews that should have evacuated kept fighting until their ships exploded around them. A human patrol boat, its weapons destroyed and engines failing, accelerated to full speed and crashed into a Vraxian cruiser. Both ships exploded in a ball of fusion fire. A colony transport loaded its cargo bays with mining explosives and rammed a destroyer at near light speed. The resulting explosion took out 3 more ships. The humans were not trying to win. They were trying to hurt, to make every kill cost something, to prove that taking one of their own would not be easy or cheap. And on the surface of Kepsilon 7, Taewon heard the reports from orbit. Heard his friends dying, heard ships exploding, all for him. He picked up his rifle and looked at the colonists around him. The Vraxians will try to land troops. When they do, we show them the same thing our fleet is showing them up there. We show them what it means to fight humans. Governor Sung Ho, holding a hunting rifle that looked ancient, nodded. What does it mean to fight humans? Taewon smiled. It was not a kind smile. It means we do not quit. We do not surrender. And we make them pay for every meter of ground with blood. The battle in orbit was brutal. Ships exploded every few seconds. Human and Vraxian vessels tangled together in close combat. Debris filled the space around Kepsilon 7. Admiral Vrex watched his casualty reports climb higher and higher. 20 ships destroyed, then 30, then 40. The humans were dying faster, yes, but every human ship took at least 1 Vraxian vessel with it. This was not how battles were supposed to go. The losing side was supposed to retreat, surrender, ask for terms. But these humans just kept fighting, kept ramming, kept exploding. Like they did not care about dying as long as they hurt you first. Admiral, we need to land troops, his tactical officer said. The orbital battle is costing us too many ships. Let ground forces handle the retrieval. Vrex nodded. Send troops. Overwhelm the planet's defenders. Retrieve or eliminate Taewon. End this madness. He ordered 50 landing craft to deploy. Each carried 40 soldiers. 2,000 elite Vraxian troops. More than enough to handle some colonists with hunting rifles. The landing craft descended through the atmosphere. Fire from the remaining human ships damaged a few, but most made it through. They landed in a clear area outside the main settlement. Perfect landing zone. No obstacles. Good sight lines, too perfect. The first landing craft opened its doors. Soldiers poured out in standard formation. Then the ground exploded. Taewon had spent hours setting up the landing zone. Buried mines everywhere. Positioned colonists in hidden positions. Created kill zones with overlapping fields of fire. The Vraxians walked right into it. Explosions tore through the Vraxian ranks. Heavy weapons fire came from 3 directions at once. Colonists with shoulder-mounted missiles targeted the landing craft before they could take off again. The Vraxian soldiers were well trained. They tried to form defensive positions. Return fire! Call for air support. But they were caught in the open. Exposed. Taking casualties with every second. Taewon moved through the battlefield like a ghost. He was everywhere and nowhere, taking shots from hidden positions, disappearing before anyone could return fire, leading small teams of colonists in hit-and-run attacks. Governor Sung Ho, covered in dust and carrying that ancient hunting rifle, crouched beside Taewon in a foxhole. We cannot hold them forever. There are too many. Taewon reloaded his rifle without looking down. We do not have to hold forever. We just have to hold long enough. Long enough for what? Long enough for them to decide this is not worth it. The Vraxian troops adapted. They were not stupid. They called for more air support. Started using heavy weapons to blast through defensive positions. Slowly, methodically, they pushed forward. But every meter cost them. Bodies piled up. Weapons jammed from constant use. Armor cracked and broke. The colonists were losing ground, yes, but they were making the Vraxians bleed for it. In orbit, Captain Min Seok was still fighting. The Indomitable was a wreck. Half his crew was dead. Systems were failing all around him. But his weapons still worked. His engines still fired. He could still fight. Commander Yuna's destroyer came alongside. Her ship was not much better. Hull breaches everywhere. Life support failing, but she was still there. Captain, I count 12 human ships still combat effective. Vraxian count is down to 130. We are losing. I know. Orders? Min Seok looked at his tactical display. Looked at the handful of human ships still fighting. Looked at the planet below where Taewon was making his stand. Keep fighting. We hold as long as we can. For Taewon. For each other. For every human who ever refused to surrender. Understood, sir. It has been an honor. The honor was mine, Commander. Admiral Vrex looked at his casualty reports and felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of military service. Doubt. They were winning. The math was clear. The human fleet was almost destroyed. Ground forces were advancing. They would reach Taiwan within hours. But the cost. The terrible cost, 68 ships destroyed. Thousands of soldiers dead on the surface, all to retrieve one fugitive. One human who should have been easy to capture. This was supposed to be a simple operation. Show force. Intimidate the humans. Retrieve the criminal. Go home. Instead, it had become a nightmare. A meat grinder that was destroying both fleets. And the humans still would not quit. Vrex opened a secure channel to the Galactic Council. Council, I am requesting clarification on rules of engagement. The humans are using civilian vessels as warships. They are arming their civilian population. This violates the Concordat of... The council representative interrupted him. Admiral, you have your objective. Retrieve the criminal. How you accomplish this is your concern. The council expects results. The channel closed. Vrex stared at the blank screen. No help, no guidance, just an order to complete the mission regardless of cost. He looked at his tactical display again. Saw his fleet, saw the humans, saw the planet below, and then he saw something else. New contacts. Emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. A lot of new contacts. His sensor officer called out an alarm. Admiral. Multiple hyperspace signatures. Count is over 400 ships. Profile matches human warships. Vrex felt cold. 400 ships. The Earth Defense Fleet. Not patrol boats and civilian vessels this time. Real warships, destroyers, cruisers, battleships, they had come. The entire human fleet had come. A message broadcast on all frequencies. A woman's voice, calm, certain. Absolutely terrifying in its confidence. Vraxian 4th Fleet. This is Admiral Ji Woo of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have attacked human citizens. You have threatened our sovereignty. You have 30 seconds to withdraw before we open fire. 30 seconds. To retreat. To abandon the mission. To admit defeat. Vrex did the math. His fleet was battered. Down to 130 ships. Many of those damaged. Facing 400 fresh human warships that were not civilian boats but real military vessels. And the humans had already proven they would fight to the death. Would ram his ships. Would die in orbit and on the ground. All for one man. What would they do with their entire fleet? His tactical officer was shouting. Admiral, the human fleet is charging weapons.
We need to decide now.
Vrex looked at his display one more time. Looked at the casualty reports. Looked at what this mission had already cost. Was one human criminal worth destroying both fleets? Worth starting a full galactic war? Worth all the death that would come? He made his decision. All ships, retreat. Jump to hyperspace immediately. His officers stared at him in shock. But Admiral, the mission is over. We are leaving now. The Vraxian 4th Fleet turned and jumped to hyperspace. One by one, the ships disappeared, leaving behind debris and bodies and the wreckage of what had been a simple retrieval mission. On Kepsilon 7, the Vraxian ground forces received their orders. Immediate evacuation. They pulled back, leaving their dead behind, and ran for their remaining landing craft. Taewon watched them go from his position in the settlement. Watched them retreat. Watched them flee. Governor Sung-ho stood beside him, still holding that old rifle. Did we win? Taewon looked at the sky, looked at the debris falling like shooting stars, looked at the colonists around him, exhausted, wounded, but alive. I think we did. In orbit, Captain Min Seok sat in his ruined bridge and watched the Vraxian fleet jump away. He had expected to die today, expected to go down fighting. Instead, he had survived. Commander Yuna's voice came over the comm. Captain Admiral Jiwoo is requesting communication. Min Seok opened the channel. The Admiral's face appeared on his screen. Captain Min Seok. You are either the bravest officer in the fleet or the most foolish. Possibly both. Min Seok tried to smile. It hurt. Probably both, Admiral. You risked your career. Your ship, your crew, all for one man. Yes, Admiral. I did. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. You know what the most amazing thing is, Captain? When I sent out the order to mobilize, I expected maybe half the fleet to respond. I expected officers to follow orders and stay at their posts. Instead, every single captain volunteered. Every single ship came. Because of you. Because you showed them what it means to be human. Min Seok did not know what to say. When we get back to Earth, Captain, you are probably going to get court-martialed. Then you are going to get a medal. Then probably another court-martial. It is going to be very confusing. Min Seok laughed. It hurt even more. Yes, Admiral. Looking forward to it, Admiral. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The massive chamber was packed. Every member species had sent representatives. Some to demand answers, some to seek justice, some just to watch what would happen next. Ambassador Hyo Jin stood at the speaking platform, alone, facing thousands of aliens who were angry, confused, and afraid. She had no military escort, no guards, just herself and the truth. The Vraxian ambassador spoke first. His voice was full of rage. The humans have committed an act of war. They defied council authority. They destroyed 68 ships of the Vraxian Fourth Fleet. They killed thousands of our soldiers. We demand justice. We demand reparations. We demand the immediate surrender of Taiwan and all military personnel involved in this attack. Other species joined in. Some supported the Vraxians. Some called for sanctions. Some wanted humanity expelled from the council. The chamber became chaos. Hyojin waited. Let them shout. Let them rage. Let them say everything they needed to say. Then she raised her hand. The chamber slowly quieted. You want justice? Let us talk about justice. Taiwan was a merchant selling medical supplies. He was cornered by 3 Vraxian enforcers who demanded he give them everything he owned. When he refused, they threatened him. He defended himself. One attacker died. The evidence clearly showed self-defense. She activated a holographic display. It showed the security footage from the alley. Everyone in the chamber could see what happened. I presented this evidence to the council. I argued for due process, for a fair trial, for basic rights. The council voted to hand him over to the Vraxian Empire for certain execution. No trial, no justice, just death. The Vraxian ambassador hissed. He killed one of our citizens. Justice demanded a fair trial, Hyojin interrupted. Not an execution. When we refused to hand over an innocent man, the council authorized you to retrieve him by any means necessary. Any means. Do you know what that meant? She changed the display. It now showed the Vraxian Fourth Fleet, 200 warships. It meant 200 warships sent to retrieve one man. It meant orders to destroy an entire planet if necessary. It meant thousands of colonists faced death because they refused to abandon one of their own. The chamber was silent now. Some representatives looked uncomfortable. They had authorized this. They had voted for it. The humans did not start this fight. We asked for justice and got threats. We asked for fairness and got an army. So we did what humans have always done when faced with overwhelming force and impossible odds. We stood our ground. She changed the display again. It showed the battle. Human ships charging the Vraxian fleet. Ships ramming. Ships exploding. Ships fighting until nothing was left. 57 ships against 200. Civilian colonists against elite soldiers. We should have lost in minutes. We should have surrendered. We should have been reasonable and practical and smart. But we are human. We do not abandon our own. Not for politics. Not for convenience. Not because it makes sense. We fight for each other. We die for each other. And we will burn down empires for each other if we have to. The Vraxian ambassador stood again. You speak of loyalty as if it justifies everything. You lost 70% of your fleet. You sacrificed thousands of lives. All for one man. That is not loyalty. That is insanity. Hyojin looked directly at him. You are right. It is insane. It makes no logical sense. No cost-benefit analysis would support it. No rational calculation would approve it. But that is what makes us human. We are not always rational. We are not always practical. Sometimes we do things just because they are right. She turned to address the entire chamber. Every species in this chamber needs to understand something. You thought one human was insignificant, thought overwhelming force would make us back down, thought we would be reasonable and abandon him to save ourselves. You were wrong. Taiwan is not just one man. He is one of us. And when you threaten one of us, you threaten all of us. When you try to take one of us, you face all of us. That is what it means to be human. The display changed one more time. It showed a simple text message. The message Taiwan had sent to the Vraxian fleet before they retreated. Send more. The chamber erupted again. But this time it was different. Some species were still angry, but others looked thoughtful. A few looked frightened. Hyojin waited for quiet again. Humanity offers the Council a choice. You can recognize our sovereignty. You can respect our citizens. You can treat us as equals. You can accept that when we say we will defend our own, we mean it. She paused. Or you can try again. Send more fleets, make more threats, test whether we were bluffing, see if humans really are crazy enough to fight impossible battles for single individuals. Another pause. But I warn you, the Vraxian Empire learned something at Kepsilon 7. Something every enemy of humanity eventually learns. You can beat us. You can kill us. You can destroy our ships and burn our colonies. But you cannot make us quit. You cannot make us surrender our own. And you cannot win a war against people who would rather die than abandon each other. She deactivated the display and turned to leave. Ambassador, the council speaker called out. Where are you going? Hyojin looked back. I'm going home. You have your choice to make. Let me know what you decide. But remember, we are not asking for permission anymore. We are telling you how things are going to be. She walked out. The chamber stayed silent for a long time after she left. 3 months later, the Galactic Council formally recognized humanity's right to autonomous justice for its citizens. The charges against Taiwan were dropped. The Vraxian Empire issued a formal apology for the incident that started everything. It was not everything humanity wanted, but it was enough. For now, Captain Minseok did get court-martialed. Then he got a medal. Then another medal. Then he was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's defense fleets. His first order was to build a memorial at Kepsilon 7, listing every name of every person who died in the battle. Commander Yuna got her own ship, a new destroyer called the Indomitable Spirit. She spent her time patrolling the frontier, making sure no other human faced what Taiwan had faced. Admiral Jiwoo became humanity's representative to the Galactic Council's military committee. Every meeting, she reminded other species about Kepsilon 7, about what happens when you threaten humans. She never had to remind them twice. In Taiwan, he went back to Kepsilon 7, back to selling medical supplies, back to trying to live a quiet life. The colonists rebuilt the mining facility where he made his stand. They turned it into a museum. Called it The Stand. Every year on the anniversary of the battle, thousands of humans came from across the galaxy to visit. To remember, to honor those who died. Taiwan usually avoided the ceremonies. He did not like being called a hero, did not like the speeches and the attention. But Minseok always made him come, always made him stand there while people honored him. They need to see you, Minseok would say. Need to remember what we fought for, need to know it was real. One year, a young officer approached Taiwan after the ceremony. She was nervous. New to the military, full of questions. Sir, can I ask you something? What was it like? Being the man who changed everything? Being the reason we fought the Vraxian Empire? Being worth all those deaths? Oh. Taiwan looked at the memorial. At all those names. At all those people who died for him. I did not change anything. I was just a man trying to survive. Everyone else changed things. They decided I was worth fighting for. They decided one human was worth defending. They decided that being human meant something more than just survival. The young officer thought about that. Do you think it was worth it? All those deaths? All that sacrifice? For one person? Taiwan smiled. Ask me that again when someone tries to take you. When some empire decides you are not worth defending. When some council votes that your life does not matter, then you will know the answer. He looked at the sky. At the stars where the battle had been fought. We are human. We take care of our own. We have always done it. We will always do it. That is not going to change. Not for anyone. Not for any reason. The young officer saluted and walked away. Taiwan stayed there looking at the memorial, thinking about everyone who came when he needed them, everyone who fought, everyone who died. Minseok came and stood beside him, still thinking it was not worth it. Taiwan shook his head. I am thinking that I am the luckiest man in the galaxy. To have friends like you, to have people who would risk everything for me, to be part of something bigger than myself. Minseok smiled. You taught us that, Sarge. Back during the border wars, when you carried me 3 kilometers through enemy territory. When you said we do not leave people behind, you taught us what it means to be human. They stood there in silence for a while. 2 old soldiers, 2 friends, 2 humans who understood what really mattered. Finally, Taewan spoke. You know what the best part is? The galaxy learned something at Kepsilon 7. They learned that humans are not just another species. We are not just another member of the Council. We are something different. Something they did not expect. What did they learn? Taewan smiled. It was a fierce smile. A proud smile. They learned that you can push humans. You can threaten us. You can send armies and fleets and make all the demands you want. But there is one thing you can never do. What is that? You can never make us abandon our own. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. They walked away from the memorial together. Behind them, the words carved into the stone were visible to everyone who visited. They sent an army for one human. He sent back a message, "Send more," and we came. The end.